welcome to our QPR season review of 2023-24, and what a tumultuous season it's been again following QPR. We'll try and analyse it and look ahead to what is hopefully a much brighter future under Marti Cifuentes. As for this season, I'm sure you'll all agree, losing 4-0 on the opening day to Watford away. God, what did we concede after 20, 30 seconds? Feels like a lifetime ago though, doesn't it now? Joe Gubbins in defence, etc. Just feels like a different season. And for 3 months, it didn't really get any better under Gareth Ainsworth. QPR were in the bottom three from the end of September until the end of February. But Marti Cifuentes, the legend already that he is, probably deserves a statue, eventually guided us to safety with a game to spare. Before we get into the ups and downs of the season, a quick word on the final day against Coventry first. Strangely, we dropped to 18th place to finish on goal difference because Stoke won 4-0. But 3 wins in a row to end the season. It was a nice day to finish the season, Dave.
Yeah, it was a great way to finish. I mean, the result was secondary, really. We knew we were safe, and it was just a great atmosphere in the away end yesterday. It was just a party going on. But to finish it like that was just was really impressive. You know, he put a few fringe players in, and they, against a good Coventry side, they won reasonably comfortably, I thought. Coventry had a few chances late on, but I thought they won the game pretty easily in the end. And you know, it bodes well for the future. I think, you know, it just shows what an incredible job he's done, really, to be able to go to Coventry and get a win like that. I mean, we absolutely got battered there last season and at home by him. And, you know, it's a completely different team now.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a good job we won the last couple of games as well, because if we'd lost them, we would have gone down, because we said we'd come back to this. But when we had 47 points a few weeks ago, we wondered if that would be enough. And it definitely wasn't going to be. George, what did you make of Joe Walsh? Could he be a number one next season or beyond?
I think number one next year is pushing it a bit far, but I think he'd be a good number two next year. Like, he surprised me, especially with his shot stopping. He did really well against Coventry. And I think the whole performance, it was just quite convincing, really. We seemed assured on the ball, Chair showing his quality again. But no, you're right. There didn't really seem to be much threat from Coventry throughout the whole game. Obviously, you had their goal, which I think Cannon did poor for. But, like, apart from that, it was a convincing performance. And I think it was a great way to end off the year. A big comparison compared to a 2-0 loss at the end of last year to Bristol City. Like, look at that game. The whole crowd was down. And you just look at the difference between ending this year and last year. It's so different.
Yeah, that's a fantastic comparison, actually, because we all went into the summer already fearing the worst. Whereas now, I think pretty much every QPR fan can't wait to get going next season. Let's have a look then at this crazy old season that it's been. I think when reviewing 2023-24, we have to start with Gareth Ainsworth. He was in charge of 14 league games and a cup exit in round one. George, why didn't it work out in your view?
Well, I never thought it was going to work out, I'm going to be honest. From the season before, the fact that he kept us up is an absolute, like, it's completely false. We were 14th in the league when he came in, and the football was just dire, wasn't it? Like, the fan, I would go to games just looking to enjoy the day out, not the football. And you said it earlier, conceding 20, 30 seconds into the first game of the season against Watford, and then for him to laugh about it after the game, I think it was just absolutely ridiculous. And listen, he's a nice guy. He tried his best for the club, but I think his football was never going to work out. We weren't Wickham at the end of the day. No matter how much he tried to turn us into Wickham, we weren't going to be. So I think the players just weren't on his side, and it was just a doomed role for him.
Dave, your thoughts?
Yeah, pretty similar, really. I thought we should have gone at the end of last season. You know, we stayed up, and, you know, it should have been right. Let's just cut ties there. It was clear it wasn't going to work. And, you know, I mean, that first game, that Watford game, was embarrassing, wasn't it? I know he said afterwards, you know, we could have played the champions today. And when we finished on the same points as them, you know, Watford were never going to be champions. They're not a great side. You know, I feel a bit sorry for him. He tried his best, but I'm sure any manager tries their best. He just seemed out of his depth. We had the one thing I would say as a positive is some of his signings have gone on to have a big impact, like Steve Cook, Jack Holback's done well recently. I think Paul Smith's done all right this year. But ultimately, really, I mean, he should have gone a lot sooner, to be honest. I'm amazed he lasted as long as he did.
Yeah, you both make really good points. For me, it was always just a bit bizarre the way he set the team up. He always had square pegs in round holes and trying to shoehorn players into positions they weren't comfortable in. And a few matches aside, we never, ever got to see the characteristics of a Gareth Ainsworth side that we were all maybe hoping we would see. And as much as they maybe never said it with words, you could tell, like George said, that the players were just not having him as manager, I always felt. And you're right, Dave. In this exact show a year ago, we were both saying that he should go. You actually said that he'd be gone by Christmas if he stayed. It was obviously much earlier than that in October. How did the club, though, not see it coming, Dave? How did they just think he's going to work?
Just blind faith, I think. Honestly, really, I mean, he should have gone after the Blackburn game. That was the worst home performance I've seen in my lifetime. It was embarrassing. He'd put Larkesh in that day, like a young left back, right back for his debut. Just threw him under the bus. He should have gone that evening, but they kept him on for another few weeks. Maybe it was because they were trying to get Cifuentes in, and that was part of it. But you know, it just didn't look like it was going to work from day one of the season, and it was a poor appointment, and we've got away with it, really, to be honest, because from where we were when he left, I couldn't see any chance that we were going to stay up, and it's honestly miraculous that we have with the game to spare.
Yeah, from the club's point of view, I still, in some ways, almost don't understand why they didn't sack him after Oxford in pre-season as well, because that was such a shambles, and every fan knew it was destined to end in failure. And you're right, it's only because we had Marti Cifuentes come in and save us that we're able to talk about it now in this way. Cifuentes, we're going to probably have to spend a bit of time, obviously, looking at what he's done for us. George, can you put into words what Marti Cifuentes has achieved at QPR?
It's just incredible, isn't it? The way that he's turned not just the players, the fans around is absolutely incredible. Like the style of football is so much better. It's pleasing on the eye. Like, yes, we necessarily don't have all the ball, but we're having shots on target. We're actually creating chances. I suppose that's what happens when you put Willock on the pitch rather than 2 minutes at the end of Watford. But no, he's actually set us up in a way that the fans are enjoying it. And no, I think the recruitment in January has been incredible. The fact that you get Lucas Anderson on a free is amazing. And I just think the job he's done is absolutely incredible. And it's a complete comparison compared to him and Gareth Ainsworth.
Yeah, Dave, he just suits the club so well, though, doesn't he, as well?
He does. I mean, you've got to look back as a job to come in and what he's done and the way he's turned this around. It can only be comparable to Warnock coming in like 12, 13 years ago when he kept us up and then got us promoted. The job he's done is on a par with that. He hasn't made like 10 new additions and changed the whole team. It's pretty much the same team with a couple of additions in January. And what's really impressive with him is he hasn't come in and said, right, this is my style of play. We're going to play like this every week. And whatever the results, we're playing like this. He's very pragmatic. He saw quite quickly Begovic can't play out from the back, so he's brought Jimmy Dunn in and give him an out ball, really, so he can hit a high ball to the right and then we can play from there. He's been pragmatic in everything he's done and he's got the best out of this team. It's, you look at I think the Leeds win last week, I think I read 8 of that team started the Leeds game away and we were awful at Leeds away. I know Leeds are a good side, but we were dreadful that night. And for 8 of that team to start and the performance to be so different, it's all on the manager for me. He's done an incredible job.
Yeah, that's what's a key thing, isn't it? Is that I think West Brom fans and Leeds fans both earlier in the season said we were the worst team they'd played all season. And then by the end of the season, both of those clubs were saying we were one of the best teams they'd played all season. And basically every single QPR stat improved. If anyone knows one area where we got worse under Marti Cifuentes, please comment because I'd love to know what it was. And you're right. One of the things I had in my notes, Dave, is that it's been so impressive the way he's adapted how he wants to play to get results. But we've still been so much better to watch at the same time as well. But he's so pragmatic and so astute that it gives so much hope for the future, like I said before. And I don't want to say me and Dave are old, George, but obviously you're a lot younger. Is this the most excited you think you've been about a QPR team and manager?
Well, no, definitely. Like when we got promoted that 2014 season, I don't really remember it, do I? It was a good 10 years ago. But no, when you can compare Marti to previous managers, he's got the best points per game since Warnock, 1.5 compared to Warnock's 1.56. And you just look at it this season, since Andre Dazzel's gone out on loan, actually, we're 4th in the league for points. Like, that's just incredible. And for him to keep us up, we've had to be playing top half like form the whole time under Marti. So if you think about it, the job he's had to do is, as I've said, incredible. And it's definitely exciting going into next year. Like, I just love how we can adapt. And he sorted it out from the back first. 11 of our 13 clean sheets have actually been under Marti, which I think is incredible. No matter how many more games Marti's had, And you just look at it, that foundation of Clark Salter and Cook, he's got them two playing. The genius of putting Jimmy Dunn at right back so he can have that outball, as Dave said. It's just, so listen, some of the calls for substitutes haven't been great, but every manager has that. But I think that some of the decisions he's made has just been incredible.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. You started to move on to the defence as well. The improvement there. The next headline in my notes here, it just says Xavi calm. And now a lot of people have commented recently saying we haven't given him enough mentions. And that's what I wanted to move on to next. And he apparently works on the defensive side of things. And like George has just said there, the improvement in the defensive stats is actually amazing if you analyse them. Look at the goal difference. It was minus 16 when Gareth Ainsworth left. It was actually plus 5 during Marti Cifuentes' reign after he and Xavi Calm came in. I don't think we should underestimate his influence, should we, either, Dave?
Definitely not. You know, he's come as a team with Marty, and they've done really well. You know, defensively, it's incredible. It's not just the numbers. You just look at the number of chances teams had against us before. We were conceding 3-4 goals, but could have conceded 10 in some games. I mean, that Watford game was humiliating. And no, they're not giving away that many chances. They're just so much tighter. They're just so well coached, not just the back four, the whole team. They're well organised. You had the start of the season, Sinclair Armstrong just chasing after everyone, not really knowing what he's doing. Now he's clearly been told, this is where you stand, this is where you close, this is where you press. And he's doing it, and he's a lot better player for it as well. You know, the pair of them have just done an unbelievable job, really, to turn this around. And, you know, I wouldn't have thought that defence at the start of the season, I would not have thought they'd keep this many clean sheets, not in a million years. And they have done them. You know, they conceded one yesterday, but it was against the run of play again. They've just been really good.
Yeah, and I think early in the season, some of us were predicting sometimes we were going to lose 6-7-0 against, like when we were playing Leicester and stuff. So a remarkable turnaround. And Marti Cifuentes was very keen to point at Xavi Calm after the Leeds game when they were doing their things on the pitch after the game. And the pair of them seem to have a fantastic relationship. They both go to each other when we score goals straight away. Very much a team, and that, I suppose, takes us on to the future. The big question is, where can he take us? And I don't want to go full Mark Hughes mode here, but he's that good, isn't he, this manager? With a full summer, we're not going to be in this position again next season, are we, Dave?
It shouldn't be. The only slight concern I have is that expectations are through the roof now. We've done so good. We're all going, we can't wait for next season. Everyone's talking about top half, playoffs, going for promotion. You look at our squad and it's going to take us still a hell of a turnaround to do that, to be in that level next year. I don't think we'll struggle like we did this year under him, but I'm not sure we're going to be as good as people are hoping. There's still a lot of work to do this summer. They need to address the attack. You know, there's some changes I think they have to make in midfield. It's still a tough job for him, but I've got a lot of faith in him that it'll surely be a better season than this one.
Yeah, George, I know you've talked about how excited you are for the future, but where do you think he could take us next season?
Well, no, I don't see no reason why we couldn't get top half of the table. You look at it at the back end of this year, we've just been so consistently good, and it's not like these results have been flukes. They haven't. They've been good performances with potentially not so good players. And you think about it, I think the whole of next season relies on recruitment for me. I think if we go down the data route, all that with Nuri coming in, and to back up your point earlier about Xavi Calm, I think the whole backroom staff has done incredibly. To have that like less amount of injuries has been very good. Like you look at it, Jake Clark-Salter started off the season injured. Season before that was constantly going out injured, but now he's had a consistent run of games. He's looked our best player. So you got to put credit not just to Marty, to the whole backroom staff and the whole turnaround. Yeah,
do you know what, Dave? It's something we were joking about a bit earlier, right at the start of the season, when they were putting all this stuff on the medical science and they weren't letting players come straight into the team and stuff. But we've got to hold our hands up. They knew what they were doing, didn't they?
They did. I mean, I thought, what are they doing? This just sounds nonsense. Let the players start the season not fit and they'll get better. It's like, what are you talking about? But they were right. Like George just said, Clark-Salter was the prime example. The amount of games he's played this season, you know, he was rarely starting 4 games in a row last year and he'd break down, and he's been virtually never present like since midway through the season. He's been really good, and you know the lack of injuries that we've had has played a big impact because Cifuentes has been able to change the team around like for form and for tactics rather than having someone injured every week. That has made a big difference this year.
Yeah, it really has. Just going back as well to my thoughts on maybe where he can take us. Over the last 19 games of the season, we'd be 4th, and we'd actually have 3 more points than Leicester in that time span. We've only lost 4 of the last 19 games. He's made us so hard to beat. And like George said, this is largely with the same squad that Ainsworth had. And I keep saying it's remarkable and it blows my mind what he's done, but I am genuinely so excited. And it does depend on recruitment, which we'll look at next. But if I had to make a prediction now, I think we could do very, very well with the manager, because if we're getting those numbers with that squad, what can he do with his own squad? But where do we need to improve, George? If you went into detail, what's he got to be looking to improve in the squad?
Well, it's the same thing with QPR every season. Goals, sadly, we haven't had a good double-digit season striker since Charlie Austin in that promotion season, in my opinion. And yeah, it's the cliche, isn't it? You went into this year with Dykes, Armstrong, and Kelman. It's absolutely ridiculous. You look, Kelman won't get in and looking at Wigan, and the amount of pressure you have to put under Armstrong at the start of the year is incredible. But I think if you're looking away from that, you've got to go in goal as well. I think Begovic will be going. I think. Listen, I don't think he's done poorly this season. 13 clean sheets isn't bad, and some of the saves he's done have been good. But I think for Marty going forward, he'll want a more ball-playing goalkeeper, someone who can adapt to his style of football. So I think that'll be one of the areas we look to improve as well.
Yeah, Asmir Begovic has put a message on social media, hasn't he, that kind of alludes to the fact that he might be staying or at least playing on. What would you do, Dave?
Definitely think they need a new goalkeeper for how Cifuentes wants to play. I think Begovic will probably move on in the summer. I'm sure he will continue playing, but I don't think he'll stay. I mean, we say it every year, the attack needs to be sorted out. They can't keep going into the season with Dykes as your only senior striker. I mean, he's done well recently, Dykes. He'll get you 5 to 10 goals every year. He's all right, but that can't be your main striker. You need someone getting 15 plus goals, because otherwise you're going to be in this position every year. You're not going to get out of the bottom 10 unless you've got goals in your team. And we need to find him. And I also think we need a bit more pace in the team. It's only really Armstrong and Smith that have pace, and they're not really regulars. They're not really ones that are going to start. Armstrong's still very raw, he's still very young. So I think they kind of need to address that. But, I'm excited about what he can do. I look at the recruitment I did in January, and, it was good. Hayden was a really good signing. Anderson's been a really good signing, and getting rid of Dazelle was miraculous. They've done really well with it, and hopefully they can build on that and do even better in the summer.
Yeah, I think the main thing is it needs to be clever picks, doesn't it? A few players in a few positions rather than wholesale changes of the whole squad. He's got a good foundation to build on, and that we've not had that probably now in the last couple of seasons. I mean, in terms of Lyndon Dykes, he's deteriorated, hasn't he, from like 1 in 3 and 1 in every 3.5 games to 1 in 4 to 1 in 5. I think this season it's like 1 in 6 or 7 games. And I know the last 2 seasons he's played in a struggling side, but come on, Charlie Austin was in a struggling side in the Premier League and scored 18 goals, didn't he? So I do wonder with him whether a fresh start could be good for him and for QPR after 4 seasons. In terms of the out of contract players, we've mentioned Begovic, you've got Archer, Walsh, Kakai, Drew, Jimmy Dunn, Dazelle, Dixon Bonner, Duke McKenna, Chris Willock. George, who would you wanting to keep out of them?
Well, I'll start off with the one that isn't going to happen. I'd love to keep Chris Willock. He's got a soft spot in my heart, especially that start of the Mick Beale crazy season. Honestly, what a player he was. And I think that it'll be sad to see him go. I think he'll want a fresh challenge somewhere else. I think the way Ainsworth treated him was horrible. And I think he's really picked it up near the back end of the season. So I would love to see him stay, but I think money-wise, like his agent, maybe he just won't want to stay at QPR. But apart from him, you got the likes. I think Jimmy Dunn will stay on. I think that'll be a good move. He's done work right back. Elijah Dixon Bonner, I think I'd keep as well. He looked good on Saturday. Good assist for the chair goal. And yeah, you got like the likes of Kakai and Drew on that list, and you just think they got to go, haven't they? The same names for the last few years. They're just painfully not good enough.
Do you agree, Dave?
Yeah, I think too often in recent years we've been a bit too kind with the releasing, and we've given players an extra year when we're not sure on them. I think they need to be a bit ruthless this year. Like Kakai's done well as like a backup player over the years, but it's time for him to move on. Same with Drew. Ideally I'd like Willock to stay, but I just, like George says, I just think he'll get a good offer from somewhere else. I just can't see him staying. Dixon Bonner, I'd definitely keep. Been impressed with him when he has played. He's a good squad player to have. He's really good on the ball. I think he suits how Cifuentes wants to play. But yeah, apart from Dunn, I assume will stay. But apart from Dunn and Dixon, Bonner and Willock, I think the rest will probably all go, wouldn't they?
Yeah, my list would be exactly the same as you two, and I think it would be for most fans. The other players have just not really proven they can be consistent enough at this level. In terms of the loan players, we had Isaac Hayden and Joe Hodge. Dave, would you keep either of them?
If the money's right, I'd keep Hayden. But imagine he's on good money because he's at Newcastle. I don't think we can be paying that sort of money. Similar to what we did with Stefan Johansson. He's come in and done a good job, but you can't be giving him a 3-year contract on big money because he is quite injury prone, and can he continue that? So if they can get him within budget, I'd maybe take him. Hodge is an odd one. He hasn't really featured that much recently, has he? So I wouldn't have thought he'd come back, but he did look promising when he did play.
Yeah, I thought he looked good in his first few appearances, and I think I said it on one of the preview shows. He's one of those players a little bit like Luke Amos, where he doesn't seem to have a set position, and that unless he can find that, it's probably going to hinder his development a little bit. Do you agree on Isaac Hayden, George?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think he's probably been the best of the January signings, and that is saying something. I think he's looked so good in midfield. He's looked immense. But you're right about the Joe Hodge thing. It's such a weird loan sign, isn't it? Like you saw that goal away at Blackburn. I thought it was going to be the best thing since last bread, but he just hasn't really had a look in, has he? So I don't see him coming back. But Isaac Hayden, I'd love him to come back, even if it's just on another year loan. But you have got to think smart with this as well. You don't want to blow all your wages on one player. And Dave was right. He's injury prone. And yeah, he's come out and said he's taken a pay cut to come here. So it's whether he wants to do that again permanently.
Yeah, that's my thoughts as well. If he wants to be on a standard wage, the same as all the other players, then fine, give him a year. But if he's going to have to start breaking the bank a la Johansson and Charlie Austin, we've just not got to go down that road again. In terms of transfers that might be going out, if we get bids for the like of Ilias Chair, Jake Clark-Salter, do we sell, George?
Well, yeah, I've said for a while that football is a business and footballers are like antiques, aren't they? You got to know when to sell. You got to know when to sell them right. And we've made that mistake in the past with a couple of players. Like at his peak, he could have probably sold Willock for a good amount of money, but here we are letting him go on a free. So I think if any bids come in for Jake Clark-Salter or Chair, you've got to take it really. And that's the same with any of our players. Like you've got to hope that Dykes has a good Euros, and if he does, you could pick up a couple of million for that. So no, I think we just got to learn from our mistakes, and that's what Marti said in an interview after Coventry. We got to learn from our mistakes of the past and know when to sell players right. Because sadly, that's how QPR have always been. We've always been a selling club. So I think that no, if any substantial bids come in, I think they will sell. It won't be a case of should we not. I think they will.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd all like to hold on to Ilias Chair in particular. He just feels like someone who should spend the whole career at QPR in some ways. And I guess how much we can negotiate depends on if Aberi Eze has a sale from Crystal Palace, isn't it? That could really shape our summer, Dave.
Yeah, definitely. I think if Eze does go for big money, then that really plays into our hands. We haven't got to sell some of our squad then. But, if a big money bid comes in for Clark-Salter, as good as he's been this year, you've got to take it because you think where he was at the start of the season, people were saying just get rid of him for nothing and get a few million for him. You have to take it, really. It's just the way of the world now. And like George said, they have to start getting it right when they sell these players. They held on to Dickey a couple of years ago and went, we're going to get promoted. And all of a sudden they're just giving him away. Same with Dieng. And they can't be in a position this time next year when Chair's potentially coming out of contract, Clark-Salter his last year, and they're getting nothing for him. So if money comes in, they have to take it. And then they have to reinvest it and buy good replacements.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the club now having better fortunes in the transfer market when they come to replace people, doesn't it? I think overall, though, we're going to be in a better place, aren't we, with financial fair play next season, whatever happens, because the 21-22 overspend drops off it. So we are going to have a little bit more leeway than the last two seasons. And I think a key thing is players will want to join us. 12 months ago, we were saying the exact opposite, but we will be an attractive proposition now. We've got a clear direction, clear style of play. And Marti Cifuentes, I'm sure, will lure some players in. If we go off the pitch for a moment, Lee Hughes has gone. Chris Ramsey's gone this season. We've got a new CEO. We've already got a new kit ready for next season. Starting to feel like a different club, Dave.
It is. I mean, it's been very positive so far since Nuri come in. I mean, it come from such a low base. It couldn't have felt much worse, could it, to be honest? But it's been quite positive. The things have happened. I mean, just little things like getting the new kit out on time. And little things like selling the school end to home fans for games, having the lower tier for the QPR fans rather than away fans. Just small things like that is kind of helping to create like a feel-good factor around the place. And it helped that he had a good first transfer window, which has been the first for a while that actually worked. So there's something to build on, and hopefully they can have another good summer and really start well next season.
Yeah, it's a big summer for Christie and Nori, that's for sure. You mentioned the crowds there as well. The attendance is pretty much every home match, even away matches, are all sellouts at the moment. Dave and I have talked about it a few times, but your reaction to the support we've had this season, George?
Well, it's just been amazing, isn't it? Like I can't believe it. We had seasons where we were doing so well and we just wouldn't be able to sell out at home. And you look at it now, probably one of our worst home forms in a season for a while. Yet we continue to sell out, and it's not just that, away fans as well. Selling out at Plymouth on a midweek night is just incredible for me. And I think that the fans have been incredible, as you said about Nuri. The whole background has been incredible. Like, I think it was a great touch, him, Lee Hughes, Andy Sinton going into the crowd before the Coventry game, just coming, meeting the fans and everything. And I think there's more of a connect between the fans and the board now. So I think that's really good to see, and it's the positive steps forward that we're taking.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you just said there. It's amazing how together the club feels. It's hard to believe that it's the same season when we were all dreading going to matches and stuff like that. It's crazy. And I think we've had more sellouts than the promotion seasons, haven't we? I mean, I literally can't ever remember where the club have had to put up messages on social media 2 or 3 days before the game saying that they're sold out. Incredible. And incredible support as well has been from the Loft Flags this year. They've been incredible all season, creating so many fitting tributes, adding to the match day experience. And they've been in touch to say that you can donate or buy merchandise and stickers and such like to help them out for next season. So I'll pop a link in the description for that if you'd like to get involved with the Loft Flags. Let's move on to our player of the season. George, do you want to go first? Player of the season.
Yeah, I'll start. I think it has to be, for me, Jake Clark-Salter. I think you could have picked either Cook or Clark-Salter, but for me, I think he just looks so good, hasn't he? I've said it loads of times on various podcasts that the one thing that Mick Beale may have got right is that on his day, Jake Clark-Salter is the best left-footed centre-back in the division. And I think I've said it a lot, he just looked immense, and he's so calm on the ball, and he just looks like he's got a bright future ahead of him. And I think if he can keep the good injury record going forward, as much as he'll be a valuable asset for us on and off the pitch, I think he'll be a key player going into next season if he's still here.
Yeah, I wonder whether clubs are going to want to see if he can prove his fitness for another season before making a purchase, so it could be to our benefit in that respect. Dave, who's your player of the season?
Yeah, I'd agree. Clark-Salter has been really good, but I've gone with Cook. I just think he's made such a difference since he come in from his debut at Cardiff. That was falling on from the Watford game, and he was so assured at the back, got them all organised. He just runs that defence. He's had a big part in Clark-Salter's improvement as well. Just think he's been really good all season. I'd one mention for a Chair, because I think he's probably not had his best season, but he's still scored. He's like a joint top goal scorer. He's got 10 assists again. He's done pretty well for us this year, and I think it's a bit underrated for us because he's been here so long. How good he is, but Cook for me is the top one.
Yeah, it's Cook for me as well, and I hope he's captain next season as well. He's a proper leader, isn't he? And it's just every stat is so impressive. We only kept 1 clean sheet without him. He missed 10 games. We lost 9 of them. And I love his winning mentality. You can see that he's really instilling that in the team. And I just hope he can be at the same level next season, because it's a shame he's not 26 rather than 33, 34, isn't it? What was your moment of the season, Dave?
There was a few. Of the Leicester away game was amazing because it was so unexpected, and the away end was just something else that day. It was such a great atmosphere, but it's got to be that Leeds game, hasn't it? I mean, I expected to lose that game and to have a nervous last go of that day of the season, but the performance was incredible. The atmosphere that night, everything. It was just the perfect evening, one of the best nights I've had down there in years. So it's got to be that Leeds game. It was just brilliant.
George, what's your moment of the season?
Yeah, no, I agree with the Leeds game. I think that has to be the moment, but some honourable mentions. Maybe the Jimmy Dunn at home goal against Birmingham. I think that was the moment for me where I thought, we could actually stay up here. And from that moment, I gained good confidence. But I think if you're going off the pitch, I think the biggest moment for us has to be bringing in Marti Cifuentes. So for me, that is the moment of the season, because you looked at it and you thought, oh, are we going to bring in Warnock or something like that? But I think bringing in Marti has just changed our season, and that has to be the best moment.
Now you've said that, I wish I'd put that as well myself. That's a good one, Martin. But yeah, there's been actually for a season that was obviously down at the bottom all season. There's been so many good moments, hasn't it? Like Dave alluded to, Steve Cook's winner at Swansea when we beat Preston up in the ice when the match should have been called off, beating Leicester, Jimmy Dunn's goal. I've actually gone for more of a defining moment, which was Kenneth Powell's goal against Huddersfield, because it wasn't a euphoric moment, but Huddersfield would have gone 6 points clear of us if he hadn't put that in the net. And because of that goal, the gap stayed at 3. And look where they ended up. They also sacked the manager because of that, and that didn't help them. We were struggling at that point as well. I think we'd only won 1 in 8 games prior to that. And then obviously after that, we then went on a run where we only lost 4 of the next 19. So for me, that was the defining key moment of the season. George, what was your worst moment of the season?
Watford away. No, I don't think I could say anything more, to be honest. Conceding after 20 seconds was absolutely unbelievable, wasn't it? And listen, you could say second half, this is what Ainsworth said, second half we were better, but they were just on the beach for the second half. They were walking around, not doing anything. The fans are having a laugh every time we touch the ball. So I think it's between that and Blackburn at home for me, but I think it has to be starting off the season in that way. After losing 5-0 to Oxford the week before as well, it's just awful.
Dave, anything different?
Yeah, I remember that Watford game. I remember being in the pub when the team come out, and it was genuine laughter from QPR fans at the team. Oh my God, this team is awful. And we kind of all knew what was coming. And yeah, like George says, that was an embarrassing night. When we kicked off, we kicked off with the ball and conceded within 20 seconds. That's unbelievable, really, isn't it? And that summed up the Ainsworth tenure, really. But I'm going to go Blackburn. That was the worst home performance I've ever seen. 4-0. It could have been 10, and let's face it, Blackburn only just stayed up. They're not exactly a good team, are they? It was a embarrassing afternoon. I took my father-in-law as a Newcastle fan to it, and I just sat there embarrassed, like, what is going on? He's sitting there, we're telling him, oh, we'll have a good day at QPR today, and he was feeling sorry for us by the end, so I'll go with that one.
Yeah, I'm similar to George. I've gone for that Oxford to Watford week, that first week of the season, because I just thought we were going down, and I can't remember feeling so depressed about the club. You just knew we were sleepwalking into a relegation, as we've discussed, and that was for me the worst moment of the season because of how we all felt, and you just were dreading the season, basically. Goal of the season, Dave? If you've not got Jimmy Dunn, I'll be surprised.
Yeah, obviously it's Jimmy Dunn, isn't it? I mean, what a goal, what a moment that was. And like George says, that was probably the moment when I thought as well, I think we're going to be all right. You know, that felt like the moment. We obviously needed a few more points after that, but you know, for your right back to do that, the technique, the goal, it was unbelievable. The only other mention I give is Willock's goal against Hull. I thought was a brilliant goal, and Dazelle against Middlesbrough as well was a good goal. But it's got to be Jimmy Dunn. That was just phenomenal.
Your goal of the season, George?
Yeah, well, I wish I could say something different, but it has to be Jimmy Dunn at home, doesn't it? It's just, I couldn't believe what I was watching. Like, what a volley, and probably in my top 3 Loftus Road moments. Bear in mind, I haven't been going as much as you two. I'm not calling you old or anything, but
sorry, you can.
no. But for me, definitely made my top 3 moments. But very close second was Andre Dazelle away at Middlesbrough. The way that he's hit that with his left foot, gone right in the top corner. Yeah, definitely some good goals this season somehow.
Yeah, do you know that Jimmy Dunn goal as well? You have to remember it was against Birmingham, and those 2 points we took, we got extra, meant it didn't go to the final day. The point that they lost there ultimately probably relegated them, so it would have been a much more nervy end to the season for QPR if he hadn't scored that. And that's it. That's our season review for 2023-24. I'm sure we've omitted some things. There's only so much we can get through in the time. As usual, there's so much to analyse with QPR. We hope you've enjoyed the show, though, and of course, comment with your summaries of the season. The 3 of us will be back in the next week or so with our player rating podcasts in 2 parts, so watch out for them. They're always good fun. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and come on, you R's.
We know who we are. You know who we are. We are QPR.